Okay, right. So we've just been shopping and took my daughter to this baked potato shop that she likes, and we went on the way home. We were listening to Ride the Lightning. Actually, it was For Whom the Bell Tolls, and she was singing along with it. They're really nice. They're really nice. They're really nice. Big potato. Ah. So yeah, we're doing Fight. The big fight between these two albums, and let's fight it out for no reason. They're from different years, on different continents, and vaguely have something to do with each other. So there's no reason to compare them. It's just a way of doing it. Someone had requested on Maiden. You know, Metallica jokes are a thing. It turns out not just me. Lots of people do Metallica jokes. And it's good for us to acknowledge that they're actually good or were good. And don't forget, you know, particularly the Maiden fans, don't kill us. Because Maiden fans are zealous. We're a prog channel. And the point is from that perspective. But we both grew up with metal to a certain extent, didn't we? I mean, I grew up with Sabbath and Iron Maiden, really, in terms of proper metal. And you certainly grew up with Metallica, didn't you?
Yeah.
And Guns N' Roses, I suppose. But if that's metal, then so is Led Zeppelin.
And Dire Straits.
Dire Straits, yeah. The grindcore classics. We might do those next, actually. So yeah, two albums linked by circumstance. Because, of course, Lars Ulrich discovered New Album, and he became obsessed with New Album. And this is the
album.
The album. The King New Album, the top one. Oh. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, Iron Maiden formed in 1975. So they've got loads of songs by this point. This is 1980, their first album. This is their third singer, a new drummer, a new second guitarist. Two completely different albums. Music, there's not really any link musically. You know, they are totally different, and that's despite, you know, Lars Ulrich's influences being a bit similar to Steve Harris's influences. Certainly, they're both like Purple. But Kill 'Em All, that sounds like Motorhead. And this is a rough-edged, badly produced, Deep Purple, musical box era Genesis, Jethro Tull, Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest, Wishbone Ash, all those things. But it's not like, wow, all those different things. It's like all those things very specifically. It's very specific what it has to sound like. So yeah, we know it's pointless comparing them, and it's an unfair comparison because of that, because obviously they've been going for 5 years, you know, writing songs and playing gigs, and Metallica were new in 1983. I mean, they were formed in probably 82, weren't they? Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's not a meaningful comparison in a way. Intense rock and roll, awesome. One with some great songs on there. Probably 4 great songs on there, I reckon. With someone with a sort of very single-minded vision of what it should be like. That is what music should sound like. That's it. They're both great, even though dodgy production, sort of lo-fi but fitting production of that. We'll talk about the production of that later. There's no comparison though for me at this point. This just because it's about songs, isn't it? And these are some great songs. I don't think they've reached their songwriting stage on this. This is some really cool thrash, Motorhead sounding stuff. So you know, in the battle, it will be that. It will always be that for me. If you went, you know, you talk about stages in their career, you'd have to go back to like 1976 to get Iron Maiden in the same stage in the career, and that's not a fair comparison because it was a different time. You know, you're in the middle of MTV and whatever, and 1976 is still listening to prog and all that stuff. So it's just different. So I think, you know, on here only Iron Maiden goes back to 1975. Is the only old song. I think Innocent Exile is the only other one. I think someone could correct me on that. I don't know. So yeah, there they are.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with practically everything you said there, Kev. I'm not entirely sure why we're doing this, to be honest.
It's just different, isn't it?
Overall, I don't think there's any comparison between Metallica and Iron Maiden. I think Metallica are a much bigger thing than Iron Maiden. This is actually...
It's on records.
Okay, this is actually something quite new for the time, yeah? The velocity itself is just breakneck. I mean, compared to this, in terms of
speed,
intensity. This is a different level. I think that makes it sound a little bit sterile, which is why the songs don't really come out as much. Maybe with the exception of Whiplash, maybe. Don't know. Really like that one. But we make Metallica jokes. We say Metallica is shit and all that, and Metallica can be shit. They've also done some really, really good stuff, and Metallica may be shit. I find Iron Maiden just pointless. You know, they are the status quo of the heavy metal world, you know.
Yeah.
You see the same shit time after time. Their live shows are basically a Punch and Judy's show, big massive sets and dolls and stuff like that, and got the guys on the guitar. Great, yeah, fantastic. 5 minutes of that, and then you've covered the Iron Maiden sort of oeuvre.
I mean, well, we'll probably talk about this in a minute more, but surely you can level that Metallica much more, and they're much more ridiculous.
Yeah, Metallica may be ridiculous, but there is still a purity about Metallica which a lot of people might not see, but I think so. They're always trying to do the next big thing, yeah? I mean, they did break new ground with this album. It was a sort of an Americanisation of Nwabum. They'd taken this sort of British art form and turned it into an American thing, and taken what is actually quite a niche area of music and made it mainstream somehow.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. I mean, this is
mega a type of music which you would never ever expect to sell in that sort of quantity. Yeah, and on that front, Metallica are a big deal, whereas Iron Maiden are still quite obviously they're not crap, but they're still niche sort of thing, and I find them particularly impenetrable because it all sounds the same. It's like
it is all the same.
It's weird, occulty bollocks. Guitarist going da 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 da. Okay, great. That's all right, but it's not.
Don't forget, in the 80s, Iron Maiden sold a lot more records than Metallica. They were a lot bigger. But Metallica were big when they were crap. Because they were big in the 90s, that's why they sold so many records.
Yeah, but Metallica, I mean, my point is, from an artistic point of view, I mean, I think the stuff they're doing at the moment is rubbish. The Black Album for me was their high point. I know a lot of people don't like that because that's sort of their... Yeah, that's them going into their overproduced sort of thing. But you can still, since they're trying to push the boundary, you know, they might not be able to do it, but they're feeling for the boundaries, and it ends up with weird sounding drums on Scent Anger. It ends up with Lars saying this is our prog album, this double, you know. It might not be there, but, you know, but they're trying. They're trying. This isn't that. This is just, this is another one of these shit where we're going to get all the same fans come to our concerts and we're going to play again. Iron Maiden are successful, yeah. There's no question about that. But from an artistic point of view, there's no. I don't think there's a comparison. I will say this though. I don't know whether I should reveal my hand this early, but this is a better album than this. Having said all that, this is a better album.
They're not there yet, are they?
No. Well, I mean, one of the big things is James Hetfield's voice, you know, that growl. He's not quite there yet. He's not developed that growl. He's still quite. Well, he's still quite young, isn't he?
Yeah.
This is more about precision and speed rather than the sort of intensity, and that could be a product of its time because the sound of the album is quite tinny.
Yeah.
And I think that may be something to do with that era.
I mean, yeah, it's very much that kind of stuff. That's the kind of production they always like.
Yeah, which I actually think if this was sort of re-recorded with a bit of bass, I think it would sound like 100% better. It's all about the bass now.
All about the bass.
Yeah.
Is that the bass?
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a fairly ridiculous endeavour.
It is fairly funny. But we had Iron Maiden requested, and we thought we should do Metallica. So
yeah, I mean that's good.
More interesting than.
I mean, if we had to review 3 Iron Maiden albums, I'd be okay. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we're only doing 4. If we're doing more than that, it would be the repetition. We will talk about the repetition. But I mean, actually, the thing though, that thrash, metal needs to kick up the arse. But I think this album reveals just sounds like Motorhead. It's not as good as Motorhead, but whereas the next when it got heavier, you don't hear that so much. But that sounds like Motorhead to me. Interesting, nothing like Iron Maiden.
Nah, nothing.
Which is fascinating. There might be reasons for that, which we'll get to.
Didn't some guitarist get sacked after this because he started jamming a melody or something like that?
Well, yeah, this is Dennis Stratton. He only just joined the band. This is their second recording. They recorded the Soundhouse tapes. I think was it New Year's Eve '78. I think, and they recorded 4 songs in this studio in Cambridge. I think, and couldn't afford the tapes, so I had to come back the next week to get the tapes. And they'd erased them, so they had to release. They couldn't do any overdubs. They couldn't do anything. They had to release just the tapes. So they left Strange World off. Actually, Strange World isn't on the Soundhouse tapes, and that was the thing. Because they've been going for so long, they were just a pub band. They didn't have the world domination plans that they later had. But what happened was that because there was a recording, it all started going. But that one only had one guitarist on it. It's one of the few times in their career where they only had one guitarist. It was just Dave Murray. But here they've got Dennis Stratton in, and to suggest, he plays differently. No, he doesn't. It's all the same. But the thing was, what's so, he was sacked because he liked different types of music and talked to people who weren't heavy metal fans. Not purist enough. You're fired. Traitor. It's so ridiculous. I mean, it is so ridiculous. And he was perfectly good, and and of course he was replaced by Adrian Smith, who is more Maiden-y. As it turns out, still not enough. But it doesn't sound very different. The second guitar does not sound very different, does it? Really, but, that thing of changing band members is a thing with Iron Maiden. There's only 2 people on this album which are on the classic lineup and are still in the band. It's more about getting the right people, and if they're not pulling their weight, you've got to get someone else in. The band is bigger than its sum of parts.
That's sort of like a King Crimson approach to it, but
that's not.
But why would you make that if you're going to be that dogmatic about it?
Yeah, it's dogma. It's yeah. Whereas Metallica, it's not. It's got to be the same people because they're the rock stars. It's not we're all in it together. It's we are the stars. It is Metallica, and they've changed lineup people only through force.
Yeah, I mean this has got Lars and James on it, and is it Dave Mustaine on guitars?
No,
isn't it?
No. I think he wrote all the riffs allegedly, actually, but no, it's not.
This has got Hammett on it.
Yeah. Well, there's lots and lots of wah. All the solos have wah. So you can tell it's Kirk Hammett going wow. Wow.
I thought that was Dave Mustaine, and
he wasn't in the band very. I don't think Kirk had been in the band very long. You have to remember this all happened really quick. Really quick.
Yeah, because Dave Mustaine got the sack because he was basically a dick. Because the original bass player left, didn't he? Everyone thinks,
yes.
What's his face? The guy who died.
Yeah, there was another bass player.
Yeah.
There was actually another guitarist before Dave Mustaine, no, I think before, who, very strange, they said, his lead was good, but his rhythm wasn't right. And that really shows again, they are being, in a different way, even narrower. And then it is, you've got to be that thing. If you don't want to do that, then you sorry. But yeah, so I think Dave Mustaine wrote a lot of it. I think the riffs. I think, but the story goes, Lars and James Hetfield jammed in 1981, and it was so terrible, and they hated each other that Lars went off to Europe. The bollocks this! I'm going to be in Europe because that's where it is. And I think they played "Hit the Lights," which does suggest, that James Hetfield was writing these songs, actually. But yeah, the fact that basically found James Hetfield to be just really obnoxious and horrible person.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be quite a difficult person to get on with.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they're Lars and James are the core of Metallica. Yeah? I mean, they're here and they're still there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the credits are Lars Ulrich, James Hetfield.
Yeah. Later on, when they became songwriters, it's the two of them, isn't it?
It's amazing that everyone, we question the musicality of Lars Ulrich, his ability to drum. Actually, the drumming's all right on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those first 4 albums, the drumming is great.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. And you have to remember at that point when he jammed with, he just got a drum kit. He didn't get a drum kit to play the drums. He got a drum kit to be part of the album and be in a band. So and that's fine, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's a bit strange because it's so key. Well, we think it's so key to it all. The drumming. The drumming holds it all together, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But actually, is it?
Well,
you look at all these massive successful bands like Pink Floyd and Metallica and even Jimi Hendrix. They had a very weak rhythm section in terms of maintaining rhythm.
Well, Mitch, I'm not a fan of Mitch Mitchell, but he was just all over the place. People say, he's a jazz drum. He's not a jazz drum. He's just all over the place.
Yeah. But that's Keith Moon. You can write really good music without having an amazing drummer, sort of thing.
Yeah. The songs. Yeah. It's about the songs. But I think it is a strange thing with Metallica. That it's thrash. It is thrash metal. These first 4 albums are thrash metal. They were the vanguard. That's the word.
Yeah.
That's the vanguard of thrash. But they're lighter than everyone else, and it's more about the songs. And I think maybe that's why. Whereas Sepultura, that's just, or Slayer, are amazing because of the drumming. The drummer's just a ninja, you know. And okay, maybe he only does that, but it's so fucking brilliant. And Lars does it, but it's never going to be as good as an actual drummer's drummer, you know. And that made it lighter, and that meant that the emphasis was more on the songs, which made them more successful.
Yeah.
But Lars isn't about the drummer bit. That's not really what he's there for, really. You know, he very early on, before he was in a band, remember, he wasn't in a band. He liked the music. He liked Deep Purple, and then when he found the album and he saw this in a record store and all that, and discovered all these bands, and it was really Diamond Head. He was really into. You know, that was what he was doing. He was discovering all these bands, and he moved to LA. Remember, he was from where's he from?
Is it Norway?
Is it Norway?
I think his dad's Norwegian.
Yeah. Yeah, Norway or a Nordic country, Finland or something, and moved to LA and he's in this school with all these. What would you call them? I don't know. These kids in suits. Let's call them that. And he's the only one, as far as he's concerned. And he's had rock T-shirts imported from Europe because they weren't a thing. That seems so bizarre now, doesn't it? So he's in his Samson T-shirt, you know, and everyone else is.
They're in their suits and their ties.
Yeah. So there was a rebellion there, and also a romantic notion of what was really happening with the album, because we see the album as something slightly ridiculous. And some good bands, and some less good bands. And you have to remember the original, the name New Album that came from that article. The article was actually tongue-in-cheek. It was actually taking like, haha, look at these rock people. Because they didn't think it could sell, you know. But what it was really, none of these bands had ever gone away. There was always bands. And some are better than others. You know, Iron Maiden can write songs, and they've got one person who writes songs. And that's all you need, you know. But he really liked Diamond Head. And he was a big fan of Maiden. And when he went to Europe, you know, I get the impression that the story goes, you know, he buggered off to Europe and said, I'm going to be in album, but had to come back with his tail between his legs. That's not true, because he was writing to the Diamond Head guy from America, and then said, yeah, I'm going to come and see one of your gigs in the UK. So he must have thought, yeah, right, come on. And he did. He flew and went to see them in Hereford. And hello, what? And this is Lars Ulrich. He talked his way into staying at this guy's house, the Diamond Head guy's house, sleeping on the floor, so he could stay in England for a bit, and then got his way into the studio with Motorhead. Right, this unknown kid, while they're recording Iron Fist, and he did that because when, like a month before, Motorhead were touring in America, the West Coast, and. He went up to Lemmy and said, hello, I'm the head of the US fan club of Motorhead. And it turned out he was the only member. He was just brilliant at hustling, or whatever you call it, you know. And then on the way back, he went via Copenhagen and met Iron Maiden as well. And that was the fabled tour, Paul Diano, where he was being dodgy, which we'll probably talk about in another video, before he went back. So he'd met them all. Went back again. And must have met James Hetfield again and thought, yeah, this is what we're going to do, you know.
I mean, you would have thought the natural career path for him would be a music producer.
Yeah.
Finding bands and making them...
But it was the tape trading thing he was doing as well, with people in Europe, which meant he had this network already there. So when he had his own band, he could just sell his own band as well. Unfortunately, it was good. It was a really good band, so it was actually much better than most of the New Album stuff. Ethel the Frog and Angel Witch, all right. But yeah, this is the thing, you know. What was New Album? It was just a way of the media latching onto rock again and calling it metal. Whether they really called it metal before then is an interesting point, because it's supposed to be the new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah,
it wasn't really called heavy metal before then. Not really. It was maybe a little bit. And what that meant, it started to revert to type. So the stereotype that was already there became real. You know, there was people going to see Iron Maiden with cardboard guitars, playing air guitar. You really did have songs about the Grim Reaper and Satan and you know, warriors on horseback. I'm Thor, you forgot your saddle. And so Iron Maiden is sort of above that. And that's the reason they were successful, is because they've been around a bit longer. So that was one of the big albums. You know, the other big albums of that era, it's things like Heaven and Hell, and it's things like British Steel, and those albums, Down to Earth actually as well, you know, that were part of the New Album thing. Actually, they're all bands. And I think the thing is, it's juvenile. I thought long about what word it needs, but yeah, it's whereas, Motorhead isn't juvenile, is it? Motorhead's just awesome. There's something childish at this point, which went away. Maybe it came back in a different way. but that's the thing about this.
Yeah, I mean, they are quite young people. It's interesting you say that, because I thought exactly the same about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of an Iron Maiden, Horsemen on Apocalypse and stuff like that.
But you look at the covers.
When I was 12, yeah, that would have really gone, wow,
fantastic,
amazing, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but when you were 14, or look at them all trying to grow a little moustache, surely if you look at the two covers, one is knowing, one is comic book, and is a cultural.
I think they had an idea for a different cover that they wanted to use. I think they were forced in. So
really?
The only time that they were forced into.
Because the cover doesn't give the right impression, it gives a stupid impression.
Yeah, I mean they're quite young, and obviously they're influenced a lot by the label, and I think the label influenced that a little bit. There might have been a deliberate attempt to make it sound a little bit childish. Whereas this, I don't know what they're aiming for. Are they aiming for sort of like teenagers? Is it Running Free or Remember Tomorrow, about 16-year-old or something like
Just
that?
16. Yeah. Well, they're singing. They're probably 20. I think Iron Maiden is aimed at sort of 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Who've probably, and it's that thing of people who already liked Led Zeppelin and all that and felt alienated from that stuff. They want a band they can actually go and see, and a band that they can be part of the team. You wear an Iron Maiden t-shirt and you are part of the gang. You are one with the metal, and that wasn't there before. And it's the same with prog. Prog didn't have that, not really, and maybe it does now.
Yeah.
But that's prog metal, really. So the people who are like that, they talk about Dream Theater all the time, which is metal, to belonging to the team with the. But when the songs are good, and Maiden they've got this thing that they are a pub band. They're still a pub band, but when they were a pub band, they were pretending they were playing arenas. So now they really are playing arenas, but they're still a pub band. It's still us, man. We're together playing the stuff, play the songs, sing along with the songs. And Metallica didn't have that sort of knowingness. I mean, the name, it's a terrible name. you don't think of that because it's such a thing. It's just such a lame name for a band. Well, actually, I forgot about this. Metallica are influenced by Anvil. I really like Anvil. Have you ever heard Anvil? I just do not get it. Honestly, after later on, at some point, listen to Anvil. It's terrible. It's rubbish. But that's that metal thing, isn't it?
There is just tuned differently than everyone else is, I think.
And that's there in Iron Maiden. That's there in Metallica. And at this point, actually, Iron Maiden didn't really look ridiculous. I don't know if it was they were sort of younger. 2 years' time, they look completely ridiculous. Metallica were always ridiculous, but in a slightly different way. There's not so many bright colours with Metallica. Iron Maiden, they're all wearing the t-shirt, and it's all. And the argument is, it doesn't matter because it's the Music Man. So yeah, we're sitting here making fun of the sort of zealous nature of it. It meant the media could latch onto it. They needed an image, they needed a thing to put on the telly. Just being good music and not even knowing what they looked like wasn't good enough anymore. So they needed all that crap. And of course, Iron Maiden at the time, nobody made money on touring. You toured to promote the album, and you lost money, but you made the money back selling the album. Iron Maiden made a profit touring just from selling t-shirts. The merchandising, it's just like in Spaceballs. Oh yeah, so Iron Maiden. First side, I think, from what I gathered, the first side is pretty much newish songs. Second side is much older stuff, I think. I think Transylvania was written in 1977. Iron Maiden was written in 1975. And I think the first side's better. I think the great songs are on the first side. But yeah, that was the thing that, Lars went away, did his thing in Europe. He met Iron Maiden, heard this stuff, he must have picked up on the songs around that time, I reckon, because it's not on there, but it became a thing with Metallica, I reckon. And from the sounds of things, I think James Hetfield was already writing songs before Lars was around. That's what I get the impression. So he came out, they found this sort of hard-edged guitarist with a massive chip on his shoulder. What we said about James Hetfield, didn't we? And I think Dave Mustaine is the same. He comes across as such a horrible person, but that comes across in his playing. And Dave Mustaine, I'm not sure if he's completely credited, but I tell you, Dave Mustaine is so important, so influential in guitar playing. That hard-edged type of playing which the thing, it's got a thing I kind of rally against, but he's there, and he did that. I think they found this wise old bass player. That's how people describe him, isn't it? Who had a sort of love of Bach, and inevitably, this antisocial singer had to fall out with the shoulder chips guitarist. So they got Kirk Hammett in, and he's much the same, but not as good. But again, all these guitarists, it's all much the same, isn't it? I mean, let's compare the guitar solos on these albums. Boring, basically. Which is unfair, obviously. But there is some nice melodic things happening with Maiden, and there is an intensity here which is great. I wish he'd stop using the wah pedal though. And there's also the twin guitar thing, which comes from Wishbone Ash, Thin Lizzy, etc. And sometimes that doesn't help because someone else has written the songs. Steve comes in with a complete finished song and he says, right, that's the way the guitar solos go. So he says, your turn now, go. Now you go. That makes everything more generic, doesn't it? The drumming is an interesting thing. On Iron Maiden, there's nothing wrong with the drumming on there. You listen to that and you think, that's thrash metal. That's a thrash metal drummer. You wouldn't think, well, he wasn't a drummer 2 years ago.
Pretty bad, because they were all both recorded in a similar amount of time, weren't they? It was like a couple of weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So the fact that he got that down.
Well, yeah.
In a couple of days is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, you realise he was supposed to be a professional tennis player, but he just wasn't good enough. I think he wasn't tall enough was the problem. He wasn't coming up, even in his school he wasn't coming up the top. So his dad was like best in the world or something. So to flip from that to drumming, and then within 2 years release a worldwide album of thrash, where you really need the drumming, is so good. But the drumming on this one, so interesting. Of course, Clive Burr famously, he sounds like Ian Pace. He's got the swing. It's Ringo, And of course, Lars doesn't have that at all. Even though that's one of his favourite band ever, kind of thing. He doesn't have any of that. He doesn't sound anything like Ian Pace. It's not like he modelled himself on Ian Pace. So it's interesting that actually Clive Burr does sound like Ian Pace. And allegedly, this might be apocryphal, but the new singer in Samson, which Clive Burr was in, had just left. And Clive Burr replaced Paul Sampson, who was on the first Maiden recording. But that new singer in Samson, called Bruce, after the Monty Python joke, supposedly he said he saw Maiden play and he thought, oh wow, it's Deep Purple, the drummer sounds like Ian Pace, the guitarist sounds like Richie Blackmore. I wasn't sure about the singer though. Yeah, right. So is he, it doesn't sound like Lars's influences. That's the point I'm trying to make. We know what Lars's influences are, and that doesn't have any of that in there. So I don't think he had much to do with the writing at this point. Should we look at the writing credits?
Yeah, I think he's on practically all of them.
Well, maybe it's just the style of music, because these songs aren't written for an album. These songs are written to jam in a club, aren't they? People to headbang to, so it's got to be really intense. And
Dave, because he's so into the type of music, his influence is going to be, although because he can sort of pick and choose sort of thing.
Yeah.
From previous bands.
Yeah, because he has the knowledge of all the bands and all that stuff. Yeah, there you go. It's Hetfield Ulrich, Mustaine, Hetfield, Ulrich, Mustaine, Hetfield Ulrich, Mustaine, Hetfield Ulrich, Mustaine. So there you go. Yeah. So the first song is credited to Hetfield and Ulrich, actually. Is it Ulrich or Ulrich?
I would say Ulrich.
Ulrich. So what's the difference between this and Motorhead? This is supposed to be the new, exciting stuff coming from LA. It really does sound like Motorhead to me. It's not as good as Motorhead, because nothing is. The vocals are a bit crap. Also not as good as Motorhead. He did get better though, which we've talked about. You've got the scales. The Phrygian harmonic minor is in there a bit, the evil Indian scales, which Motorhead don't do. And that's a thrash thing, actually. So you do get that in Iron Maiden, but not as much. If it's your solo, your turn, go. Kirk's much more likely to do that than in Maiden, where they're trying to play a tune.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of what I call stormbringering. But does that ever get old? Probably not. It's great. It's excellent. And that's much more Motorhead, The other thing that really struck me actually was the vocalists. They're not that different, really, are they? They're really not that different. The production's very different, and the production in this is famously bad because they haven't got Martin Birch at this point.
Well, the good thing is the falsetto is kind of restrained on here. It is there, but
Yes.
it's not as much, which is that's a relief. I wouldn't associate Hetfield with falsetto.
No. Well, supposedly on that first jam in 1981, he was trying to do Rob Halford. He was, eventually he found at the end of each line. Yeah, but I mean, Paul Di'Anno's great. I think he's great. Some people think he's the best Iron Maiden singer. I don't know about that, but I mean, he's landing a cockney, blokey act and all that. I think it's perfect for the time. Maybe limits the style of music, but it does have an endearing quality to it, which Bruce doesn't have. And I think, probably from a marketing point of view, that the thing about it's punk with metal, which is sort of poo-pooed now, helped marketing it, and people let it through, if you like. I mean, James Hetfield, people really rate him as this fantastic vocalist, and I've never got that. I mean, in so many ways, James Hetfield is someone I don't really understand what's... He seems like a really horrible person. Well, you take superficially the stuff about him, you think he's a complete arse. But it's a shield. He's a very sensitive, creative individual, so he makes this ridiculous character. Whereas I think Paul Di'Anno, that's just him. He liked some punk bands. He just liked rock music, so he liked that band and he liked that band, and that's what he was doing. And he went out and he shouted the songs, man. But that, of course, that meant he couldn't tour well enough. He would be good one night and then knackered the next, and stay up for 6 nights on speed, and then not be able to sing at all. The best thing here is Phantom of the Opera. For me, there's nothing. Best thing on there for me is Sequence Destroy, actually. Great riff, but it's the riff you remember, not really the song. But yeah, Phantom of the Opera is one of the best Iron Maiden songs, I think. And from this early period, easily the best thing. And like I said, I prefer the first side. I don't know if you noticed that, because obviously we don't listen to it in 2 sides. And obviously, as we said, it's all very similar. So, but I've never really been much of a fan of the song Iron Maiden, but it is the only one that goes back to 75.
But it's weird, you would have thought it'd be like a massive epic, wouldn't you?
I know. But it's because it's the first song, it's called Iron Maiden, and they play it at every gig.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a concert somewhere where it was cancelled, cancelled halfway through or something, but they play it still at every gig. But that's not the point almost, is it? It's it's the theme tune. Charlotte Harlot, written by Dave Murray, and he writes a song every sort of 2 albums. And they're never quite top drawer, I don't think, is my opinion. I've never been that much a fan of Charlotte Harlot, but obviously it's the part of the mythology of Iron Maiden, and there's more songs about Charlotte, who supposedly was a real person. Paul Di'Anno did write some lyrics, I think, to Remember Tomorrow I'm Running Free. Well, no, they're good. And like you said, it's the Just 16 type of stuff. It's not very Maiden-y, actually. It's not punk. None of that is punk. Not even Kill 'Em All is punk. Like I said, clever way of getting around sort of pop trendies who would sort of try not to play things on the radio that weren't the correct way and things like that. And if they thought it was punky, they would put it on. But they were offered support of a label in 1978, and this rep told them to cut their hair, tried to book them at this punk gig. And it's funny, you listen to Steve Harris, they're all spitting on each other and what a palaver! I'm making that, but it was something like that. It was just, Steve would never acknowledge that there's anything punk about anything in Iron Maiden. They're not punks. Ridiculous. And helpfully, of course, Lars said, in the bottom it was like metal but with the punk attitude. But does that mean, is Dissident Aggressor the spirit of punk? Symptom of the Universe, is that spirit of punk? I mean, therefore, is Speed King the spirit of punk? Is Child in Time the spirit of punk? And if that is, does that mean Communication Breakdown, is that the spirit of punk? So Long Tall Sally and Lucille, that's the spirit of punk, is it? It doesn't mean it's just rock music, isn't it? Whatever punk is, that's a different thing. Just some bands, really. It's a bit like prog, in that people like to label it with the thing they like. So if people like punk, they like this, and they'll say, there's punk in that. And it's just like, it's prog, isn't it? Yeah, but prog just means, I like it. You take away the stigma, and it just sounds good progressive. The music I like is progressive.
I'm sure Metallica were influenced by punk. They played a few punk tracks on. Well, they put a few punk tracks on Garaging.
Yeah, but it's not prog either. None of it. Not even Phantom of the Opera. You know, you have to remember. Okay, people will think, but it is. It's this big structured thing. Think about it. It's E and it's D again. Yeah. It's just the same notes. All those fantastic themes. And even in Phantom of the Opera, you've got is and it's all the same. It is all the same. You know, it's fantastic and it's brilliant songs, but it is really narrow in its approach of what it is. People talk about the changes in tempo with Maiden, which is a good thing. It's usually changing tempo, not changing time, and having different sections, and how, wow, that's just off the wall, time changes. And like I said at the start, we're coming from a back perspective, so, you know, we're not even talking thick as a brick when we say, you know, compared to Motorhead and Metallica, yeah, okay, but, you know, I mean, even thick as a brick is pretty simple compared to, like, Gentle Giant, and Gentle isn't that complicated, is it, you know? So, yeah. Whereas Kill 'Em All, I prefer Sepultura to Metallica. Sorry.
Should we egg these suckers?
God, it's difficult, isn't it? Do they have to both be 4 eggs?
No.
Because
well,
you
for me, anyway.
Yeah.
7 eggs, it doesn't matter. I don't know. You've got 4 fantastic songs on there. Transylvania was a deliberate instrumental, so they can have in the concert, an instrumental bit. Strange World is alright. Charlotte the Harlot I've never been that much of a fan of, but it's such a thing. And Iron Maiden I've never been a fan of either. So there's 4 great songs on there. So it would have to be 4 eggs, wouldn't it? It can't be 5 eggs. Even if it's got Phantom of the Opera and Remember Tomorrow, wonderful stuff. Prowler's so cool as well. And Kill 'Em All is completely one-dimensional. The songs aren't there yet, but it is fantastic early thrash stuff, which we like. So to give that 3 would be disgusting. So
what are you going with? Come on, bit of
oomph.
Oomph.
4 and 4. It means nothing.
2 eggs, 3 eggs.
Goodness me.
But I still maintain, I don't know why we're doing this.
Well, we've got the list on the website, so eventually we're going to do this band. So this is far more interesting than just doing Iron Maiden, which would have been very difficult.
That would have been a chore.
We would have just upset Iron Maiden fans saying it's all the same.
I'm sure there'll be some people who will correct me on why Iron Maiden is the best thing
wrong.
ever. I'm actually looking forward to getting a bit of education on it, actually. So yeah, we'll see.
But it's all going to ramp up and etc. next week, so you know. But you don't know which Maiden album we're doing. What is going to fight Ride the Lightning? Yeah, there you go. That was rambling.
It won't be next week because I'm on holiday next week.
Yes. Sorry, folks. Yeah. There will be a 2-week interval.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, we're back with Ride the Lightning and see you then.